second ever Cosplay for All podcast. We're going to introduce a couple new people, though. We'll go down the line one more time, though. I'm Megan Golden. You guys remember me from last time.
I'm Whitney, or Zabricus. You hopefully remember me from last time.
Noah, Booker, and also Booker.
I'm Eric Browning.
And I'm Scott, also known as Error.
I'm Ash. Hey.
So much enthusiasm today. So pretty much what we'll be talking about today is cosplaying. So picking your character development, where to start your very first costume, or start with that particular character. So the very first question I'm going to ask you guys, what's the most important part about picking your character when it comes to starting a cosplay or a costume?
Doing something you love and that you're excited to do.
Agreed. Anybody else?
Well, something that you think is within your abilities to build. I mean, if it's some 20-foot tall dragon, everybody is equipped to be able to build that kind of thing.
I am, with my imagination and my wildest dreams.
And Legos.
If I'm into it, I build it.
Okay.
If I like it, I like the colors, I like how it looks, and for me, if I feel like I can physically fit into it, I'll do it.
I'll find a way to make it if I like it.
Yeah.
Everything just works for me.
The epic hair flip. Ladies and gentlemen, Ash Sweetring. Okay, so when you go about picking your character, what normally sparks your interest? Like if you play a video game and you see a character that you want to do, or like reading a comic book, or do you think I want to do a character that fits in a genre? Do you go looking for a character that fits what you want to make, or do you guys get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm explaining it 10 different
I
times.
usually come across characters happenstance, like you said, like I'll be watching a movie and be like, I want to be that, or I'll be playing a video game, I want to be that, reading a book, I want to be that, just looking at someone in a convention, that.
I'm
definitely gonna be that.
but I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
I was watching Man of Steel, and I, started off watching that whole movie, those first couple scenes, and being an art major, I'm like, that's Art Nouveau. I love Art Nouveau. And then, of course, they had the armor, and the armor had all the scroll work, and I'm like, oh, I love it. I must do it. So I decided it's my fandom. I love the style. I'm going to do it. And then here recently I switched characters from my other fandom and decided, all right, I love Stargate, but I'm also going to go to Yellow Jacket from the new Ant-Man trailer. I went, oh, yellow and black. Oh, I love it.
Yeah, I do the same thing that you do. Like, I'll be playing a video game, and it's like, if it's a character that looks cool, or like even one that I just relate to, and they might not have like a super elaborate costume, I still want to do it because I like that character. I like their story. I like their background. And I've never like looked at a character, just like a random one I didn't know, and been like, I want to make something that looks kind of like that. I've never done it, but like sometimes I'll go like, I'll see a character and I'll look it up, and I'll be like, who is this? But yeah, I'll see something that I like, and then I'll just be like, I'm gonna make that.
I do whatever I really want to, whatever strikes my fancy. Mainly because I like doing the creepy things, like Scarecrow. So that's the kind of stuff I do. I don't even know what really. It's just I'll be sitting there, and it's just like a thought that pops in your head. You're like, I'm going to be this guy one day. And then you just keep doing it. That's how I do it, at least.
Villains don't get enough love.
Especially not Scarecrow.
Scarecrow from Batman.
Batman. All Scarecrows.
All the
All
scarecrows
scarecrows.
all the time.
Yep.
Even the one from The Wizard of Oz.
He needs a heart.
Yeah. Well, let's go with that.
I'll take that as a no. I was very hesitant.
Well, that would be a good idea.
What about you,
Are you
Ash?
looking at me?
Yeah, we're like waiting.
How do you figure out your characters? How do I what?
What?
Oh. Well,
Well, you've been Samus.
I've
so.
been Samus. I'm shy.
How did you go about picking Samus?
I'm obsessed with her.
There
And
you
so
go.
I said I'm going to be Samus. And then I made her.
What else are you obsessed with? Her hoodie.
Pokemon and Zelda.
Not really.
Or Legend of Zelda.
This is Whitney. She knows all about me. Just ask
I
me
just know the costumes you've done.
All right.
No, I seriously, I'm going to video game development school, as everybody knows. So most of my costumes are video game based. That's it.
So you play video games. So
I play a lot of video games. Yeah, you guys make.
Could you
blush.
say you do playing video games for a living?
Yeah, I sure do.
That's cool.
That's all. Yeah.
All right. So when you finally, so you play your video game, you read your comic book, you watch your movie, you pick a character. Then what? What is your next step?
What is it made of?
Yes.
How do I make that? How do I?
Spandex everywhere. I'm pretty sure you all know that, like, every character you want to do, like, that's a lot of spandex you have to work with. Every single
armor.
I need to go on a diet.
or spandex
Yes.
and armor. And yeah, you're like, okay, I want to do this. And you're like, but he's got a Superman physique, and I'm more like a potato. So,
Always a potato.
yeah, so you gotta calm down a little bit. And
PSA: you can cosplay no matter what your body type is.
Yeah, obviously, but
Some people choose
Some-
to.
that's
It's
perfectly
great.
I'm just saying,
Yeah, it's great
cost-
motivation.
Perfectly fine.
cost effectiveness, spandex less.
I love potatoes.
I like potato chips. The kettle ones with sea salt.
And now we're gonna go talk about what our favorite food is.
I'm really hungry.
Next time on Cosplay for All, we don't talk about cosplay.
We trade
Just eat
recipes.
food.
We'll do a cosplay show to a
All
cooking
right.
show.
Any other tips for your second step? So we have materials, and that's a super important part.
The YouTube. Lots
Yep.
of the YouTube.
The YouTube.
Yes.
Yep.
So how to build it?
Yeah, well, yeah. If you're starting out, you go to YouTube, you go to Kamui, you go to any of the other super pros. Usually, will have tutorials. The prop builders,
Yeah,
Vulcan
Kamui
props,
is a professional
Goddess.
cosplayer who is the
Goddess.
Cosplay goddess.
Spirit animal.
the German goddess.
Yes. So what if your character has multiple versions, like you were talking about Samus from Metroid, and just like there are so many different characters, and they have so many different versions. How do you go about choosing those?
I like to pick the hardest one.
It's usually
Okay.
how what I end up doing too.
Challenge
Because it's like,
accepted.
and even when you said like you did Zod,
Yeah.
so when there's like.
Terrence Stamp Zod.
Yeah, so there's like a movie version. There's a bunch of different like comic book versions. Like
Yeah, a lot of the comic book Soviet Union, evil Russian General Zod. I was going more off of what I liked, So
Yeah,
I like that style.
That's what
To
I
me,
always
it's a style
do,
thing.
Is just whichever one I want to
Which
do. I
one you
mean,
like the
I'll
best?
eventually do everything.
If I loved red, I would do the Russian one. But
yeah, or if you're like me and you like Lara Croft as much as I do, you do all of them.
Yeah, you do all the versions.
I
Name
will
drop.
never run out. There's so many different versions of her that I'm just like, I'll pick this one now. I've started with my favorites, and then I just keep gradually continuing. But so once you start, you picked your character, you've researched your character,
You cry about it.
you cry about it.
This is gonna be so
You stop
hard.
eating pizza, or you eat more potatoes. I feel like this is gonna be like the biggest tip anybody takes from this.
Potatoes?
Yes.
should.
Nice
Decide, cry,
10-pound
eat.
bag.
then build.
So when you're building, do you start like material shopping? Do you Google like the best materials first?
It really depends on like your level of where you're at in the cosplay
Your craftsmanship.
skills. Yeah,
Your-
like what
your
you can
skills.
do. Like if you already know how to do like a lot of different material builds, then you don't necessarily have to start out at the YouTubes, and you can just go off of your own knowledge. But oftentimes going to like a forum, or like in Utah we have Cosplay Utah, and just asking people like, hey, how do you think I could accomplish this particular thing? And then you get like all kinds of people answering ways of how you could start and materials to use and whatnot. So that's always helpful.
Very nice. Any more tips?
No.
Materials, I go for realism. I try to get the exact same thing. I mean, no matter what it takes, unless it's like way too much. But like
Even
for
adamantium?
Yeah.
that's plastic, but for like General Zod, the chainmail textured thing, I just researched out the wazoo. I just went through and found it on the Replica Prop Forum, which is an awesome website, therpf.com. Mm-hmm. Fabulous. I mean, you want to know everything about that character. There's someone on there who knows it. And so this guy was actually building a Superman suit and had the chainmail on there and was silicone printing the fabric, which, was just gorgeous. I called around to several textile places around the country. No one is doing it. No one. This guy lives in the middle of Asia, and he's got a factory over there doing it for him. I'm like, dude, make black. I need black. Make black. And so he made black.
Awesome.
And so I was able to go through that. And with Yellow Jacket, I've been through all the fabric stores trying to find the metal foil printed polka dot pattern spandex lycra kind of stuff. It's yellow and it's got dots all over it. Just a straight up polka dot pattern. No one has it. I found some things that are similar, but being that it's Hollywood, I'm figuring, I'm trying to find contacts in LA that can go to the LA Fashion District and go get the fabric from there. And worst case scenario, I'm going to fly to LA and go through all those shops. It's only $155.
That's hardcore.
I am hardcore.
For those of us who are not quite that dedicated,
I like it. Sorry.
There's all kinds of different ways. Like if it's more of just like a material character, like a Lara Croft or a Han Solo or anything of those natures where it's just assembling clothes, like you can. What we usually do is just go to like a Goodwill or a Savers or any thrift store and just find everything that looks similar. Then you can alter it to whatever the character looks like.
And if you wash the bloodstains out, it works just fine.
Or if it's like building a Deathstroke from Batman Arkham, then you kind of have to figure out.
You go like a used sports store, get pads and whatnot.
Yeah, then you just kind of figure out what different materials you want to use to create it, and then figure out where you want to start creating it, and then just dive headfirst in.
So I'm assuming that we all do things a little bit differently. As far as like steps go, do you budget your money and then start planning? Do you start planning and see where money factors in? I know money's always different because a lot of us are like, we don't look at receipts, we don't care. Like we were talking about that last time. But what steps do you go into like that process?
Pull out your credit card, hand it to the lady, and say, "Just do it. Take it. I don't want to know.
I don't want to look."
I just start buying things piecemeal, like as I can afford them.
Okay, like do you guys normally do like the hardest part first or the easiest part first?
It really depends.
Yeah.
I keep my eye out whenever I'm like shopping for something. So if I'm like at a Lowe's or something and I see, that's why I found my Scarecrow from Arkham Asylum's arm. Is we were looking for like something for a new dryer, and I saw that dryer tube, and I'm like, that looks exactly like it, and I bought it, and it worked perfectly. So it's not so much sometimes I go out hunting; it's more coincidence that I stumble across something, and then it makes me really happy.
I always work on things like when I have the time to do it, which unfortunately tends to be right before a convention starts.
Yep.
The night before, and I'm like, okay, I have time for this now. But like I'll take like just like little projects at a time, and eventually when it's like finished, then it's good. Night before.
Pretty much.
Nights and weekends.
Yep.
Nights and weekends until it's done. I usually start with the hardest thing first.
I do too.
Because I know that's going to take the longest. So I start early, you know.
Yeah.
As far as material wise, I like to buy mine in bulk for like the Sintra, are also known as PVC sheets. I buy massive sheets of them, chop them up so I can actually get them through the door. And then I just have them nicely stored away, and I slowly nibble on them as I need them for each project. As far as what each part, take for instance Deathstroke, biggest part that I would probably start on is the chest piece itself, and then work on that, and then I'd probably dive right into the face mask.
Yeah, so that's actually my plan, is get the chest piece out of the way and then do the head. So we're on the same page, and we haven't even talked about that part yet.
When I did Zod, I made it all out of poster paper first on a dress form. And I figured if I can make something round out of something flat, then I know I can build it in real life, versus just making something that's just round. Like it's much more difficult, So I started with the part that everything else hangs off of, So you just kind of work from kind of the inside out. You take it apart visually.
Yeah.
That's a super good idea.
Planning.
As far as which costumes, we'll go around the table for this. Which costumes have you guys done that required the most planning? I mean, you don't have to go in order. Whoever speaks first.
I'm still working on Sephiroth from Final Fantasy VII. it's been a while project, but I actually had to sit on that project designing it for a while because I built an animatronic wing into it, and that required me to find the particular linear actuators that are relatively cheap. I wasn't going
What's
to go out
that?
and buy out linear actuators.
Yeah, that.
Oh. Basically a little tiny piston, except it's
Usually electrically controlled.
electrically controlled. So the board, basically moves it around and tells it wherever to go, and I know where it is because I have a little joystick on my thumb. But that took a bit of planning because it has certain forces that it can exert, and then I had to draft it up, and then I sent it out for cutting. I had to have it specifically cut.
Did you laser cut it?
Yeah, there's a local person in town that has access to a laser cutter.
Probably a very large format laser cutter.
Yeah, I believe
Is it
the biggest
James?
split. No, it's Delvey's Plastics. Yeah, I built it all out of acrylic plastic because it's relatively strong plastic, and
It's also kind of heavy too.
it is a bit heavy, but also it reacts to heat, so I can form my pieces as I need them. That took the longest planning, and I'm still not finished with it. I hope I have them done by September.
Of this year?
Yeah, this year.
I
Wow.
would clarify how
I thought-
long planning takes.
Yeah.
2085. Are we done?
20.
Zod was 9 months of solid work. So that was, 3D parts, the paper parts, the Warbler parts, which is thermoplastic, foam, all that good stuff. The Jaffa I'm still working on, which will probably be next year. I mean, I've already twisted together like 6,400 rings for the chainmail sleeves, and I still have to do the
Wow.
legs. So I'm like, I'm going to do Yellow Jacket because I can get that done before September.
Like the in-between costumes that are a little bit easier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the Kevin Flynn costume that I did with the help of awesome Trevor, getting some EL lamps from him. That was just a 1 month build. That was all sewing, just, bang it out. I can't sew to save my life, so I had my friend Christy do it, and she was able to sew it together. I made all the patterns, and we cut out all the fabric, and I made all the fabric choices. I did a lot of it, but she did all the work sewing it together. So
Nice.
but we banged it out in a month. It was great.
Right, so you've done Samus from Metroid. You've done a Daedric from The Elder Scrolls Skyrim.
Yeah.
Which one of those two took the most planning?
Probably the Daedric. It definitely took the most planning because I had to draw it out. I had to plan which materials I was going to use for it and kind of the color schemes. It's not the most seen color scheme because they usually go after like a red and black dark scale. I went purple because I wanted to do
Purple's
purple,
awesome.
yeah. But actually Samus took the most planning and stuff because I have 4 different versions of her because I was not thrilled with them, and so I just kept redoing them. And
Creator's curse, right?
yeah.
How long
Never
did it take?
satisfied.
The first Samus took like 8 months. It was all furniture foam. So, yeah.
Oh, jeez.
The second Samus took probably a couple weeks, but I only got halfway through before I decided I didn't like that either. Then the third Samus, I was somewhat happy with it, so I just took a lot of the stuff from her and then I moved it to the final version. So, probably like a year total.
Just like a constant upgrade.
Yeah.
I think
And
it
I'm going to
depends.
do another one. So.
I'm sorry. I think it depends also on how fitted it is. If you're just doing kind of loose armor that fits on you with straps, it's not that bad. But if you need something like Samus where it's, that has to fit your forearm like this and bend all the time, it takes longer to do all that planning. That's why you start way early. Start early.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think the one that took the most planning for me was Scarecrow from Arkham Asylum, mainly because I had to painstakingly stitch all that leather together and try to prevent the pants from falling apart, which I have failed to do because my groin blew out on it. Yeah, middle of con was kind of like shit. Like, well, here we go. Interesting day. But yeah, it was just a pain in the butt because it took forever to plan that out. And it's actually the costume that I'm wearing like the least amount of clothing on. So, and then that arm took forever too. His like fear injectors. That was a pain in the ass. So yeah, it was mine.
So far, the one that's taken me the most planning, which I'm still in the process of planning and figuring out and haven't fully even started on it yet, is Deathstroke. that I've probably just spent countless hours just thinking about how to even start this and what materials to use and how I'm going to actually make it stay on my body, because that is always the hardest thing to figure out, because it fits the dolls and the characters perfectly, but it doesn't fit you perfectly unless you plan for it to fit you perfectly, and that's hard.
Yeah, Zod's armor was all computer generated in Man of Steel. That does not
Was it
exist in
really?
the real world. Does not exist. Feor was the only one that had physical armor. Everybody else was computer generated.
That's great.
But I managed to get it all on my body using the straps that they had pictured. So
And it looks really, really cool.
thanks.
Let's
does.
insert a photo or something. We'll make it the thumbnail of the video.
I got lucky on that because they came out with a 1/5 scale statue, so I was able to look under the cloak and see what was in the back. It's like, oh look, there's a strap on his butt. That goes around the legs, goes around like this. I'm like, and that keeps it all together. Without knowing what was on the back side, because usually video game characters you see them just from the front or maybe from the side. You don't see them from the back.
You also don't see how they function or how they get in and out of said costumes.
No.
You just
That is the
assume that
other
it's
part.
part of their body. They
Pretty
were
much.
born that way.
Yep.
Born with
Games
spandex.
like Mortal
Yes.
Kombat, like a lot of those people, you don't see what they really look like. You know what I mean? I feel like the way that people put armor on and keep it together, I find that fascinating.
It's like a half an hour for me to get dressed.
It's
I think
always so hard.
that'd be like an interesting YouTube video. It's like kind of like behind the scenes, not like of cosplayers, but I mean like the actual characters. Like trying to watch a Daedric like wake up in the morning, get up and like pick up his armor and be like, and just like slowly try to work it on. But like dragons are burning, like rifted and stuff, and he's just like, I'm almost
He's
ready,
like,
guys.
Give me a minute.
And then like he kicks in the door, and then it turns out like he's like missing a boot or something. So he's like,
Wouldn't it be nice if we could just be like Tony Stark and just walk in the room with our arms out and just have the costume just attached to you?
I was gonna say, I've trained you to
be
put
nice.
Samus on me.
Yes.
So-
I know
She's your handler.
all of these technical terms. She's
She knows
like,
the exact
I need
order
you to
of how to
the
put it on."
pauldrons and the D-rings and the blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I know which order. The one thing I haven't mastered are corsets. I gotta put
Yeah.
my foot up on her back and I never quite understood. I just know.
I helped the cosplayer get out of one.
Oh.
That was it. no, not like that. No, I helped. I helped Melissa get out of hers. She was changing. She couldn't drive in it, So she's like, "Can you just get this off me?" I'm like,
yeah,
pulling off.
she couldn't
I'm like,
drive.
Yeah.
holy
I
heck!
could drive
How
in mine
long
just
are
fine.
these straps?
So someone's crotch blew out. People taking off.
And
other
I'm undressing
people's
people in the
corset.
parking garage.
For the love of Zod, let's move
Creepiest thing
on.
Zod's ever said.
Whitney understands the Zod piece.
Yeah.
Or malfunctions during the movie shoot.
Yeah, we were doing some random
Super
mini
Brawl.
Super Brawl DC versus Marvel movie. It was kind of random. And General Zod's costume, he had like this little chest piece thing that is supposed to stay down, but it kept going
It kept detaching.
Now,
I will fix
and
that.
all the glue in the world was
Now,
not
is
keeping
that
it together.
something that would in the future, if you ever when you do fix it, is that something that you look back on and say, hey, I should have planned it differently?
That's what I did, because I had that same problem the first year. I just relied on straight up Velcro to keep me all together. No. So, hook and eye is embedded in Warbler. So I embed the hook in on one side, and then on the strap I sew the eye. That way I can hook them together. Oh, I can sit down in that, and it doesn't pop a strap now, which is great.
Awesome.
Usually I'd sit down and, one goes flying off. That
That's
one goes
me.
flying off. So
Popping off.
Yep.
now
Every
on
cauldron.
the abdominal plates as they go onto the cod piece, right where they join, I'm gonna do the same thing. Put a couple hooks and eyes and keep those things together.
Do you guys have any advice for when things like that should happen? Just general advice for planning?
Have a repair kit.
Yeah.
Oh, you're talking about for like blowouts when something malfunctions.
You need some
Yeah,
spare
yeah.
leather.
Have a trusted friend,
Yeah.
because things
Hot
are gonna
glue.
get really close
Lots
really
and
fast.
lots of
I
hot
brought a glue
glue.
gun to Comic-Con. I had to use it.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
E6000 glue takes 24 hours. Don't bring that.
Nope.
No.
You need to have
Super glue.
Milwaukee needs to come up with an
Yeah.
industrial hot glue gun that you plug one of those big batteries into. That just 5 minutes. You
I was
just,
gonna say if Barge came out with a smaller tube, that would be perfect.
Yeah, I've got a tube of Barge. Barge is a contact cement. that you can get at like leather stores, and it's what they use on your shoes to keep the sole of your shoe to the upper for like years, and it's flexible. It's good stuff.
Yeah. It's the best.
I plan on using Bard's for Yellow Jacket for keeping the silicone rubber parts on the spandex.
I would also tell someone not to fret, because when you do have
happens.
things like that happen, it's just future. It's just something that you can learn and something that you can improve later. It's just planning makes perfect.
I keep one of those little sewing kits in my car. They have like the 14 colors of thread and needles and thimbles and stuff.
Every
Keep that in
time,
the
like,
glove
I've
box.
learned to take, like, I have, like, this big, like, Ziploc bag, and I just put, like, there's a glue gun in it, there's bobby pins, there's safety pins, there's paper clips. Anything I can think of, there was, like, a needle and thread, anything that you can think of that can help you along the way is a super good thing to have prepared.
Well, I love Salt Lake Comic Con's
The
cosplay repair room.
Yeah.
Yes.
Gosh, I'm in
That's
there
handy.
like 14
The
times a
best.
day. It's
Oh, yeah.
They
ridiculous.
know you by name by the end of the
Yeah.
day.
Yeah, they do.
They're like,
They
oh,
do.
that broke again?
Yeah, and it,
They start by calling you characters like, "Hey, Samus," and by the end of the day, they're like, "You're back, Ash. Go, leave, stop coming here."
and if it comes to
Here
the
you
point
are.
where like you're just not having any more fun because your costume just keeps breaking, whatever just keeps breaking, just ditch it and go enjoy
Yeah.
the con or
I
wherever
kinda
you're
have a
at.
funny
Or you
story
or you
that
can
leads
also
into that.
have a backup costume
Yeah.
that you can change into one that's a little bit less
Yeah.
maintenance.
Yeah.
Or make it so it works into it. Like if you're Samus, wear Zero suit Samus underneath it.
Yeah.
So if you're
There you
literally
go.
walking down the hallway, all of a sudden it pops off. You're like,
I meant to
in
do
character.
You have a funny story to tell.
Yeah, this last Fanex, my Daedric spine kept coming undone, and it's because the clips kept popping off of it. I took your hook and eye advice. And I went in there, and it turns out they were doing the prejudging for the costume contest, and they thought I was a contestant, and all the judges stood up and started clapping. I was like, I'm not in here to compete. I'm broken. So, yeah, they're like,
So you took his hook eye advice and it didn't work, or you did it later and it did work?
no, I did it later, and it did work.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I was like, he made a scared
I thought you
face.
said it
wanted
didn't
to-
work. I'm like,
No,
I
it
wanted
did
to
work
clarify.
after. Nope.
Okay, cool. So when you guys are starting to like make your costumes, do you ever add like a personal flair, or how do you make a costume your own? Because there's so many. Let's say like a lot of people dress up like Poison Ivy. There's a bunch of people that dress up like Deadpool and Harley Quinn, and they're like, I don't know, like just armored creatures. I don't know where half of them are from, but there are a couple people in Daedric armor. How do you stand out, or do you want to stand out?
I made mine purple.
It really depends. Like for me, I really like there's times when I just really want to be super accurate, so I will do whatever I can to be as accurate to the character as possible, and that in a way makes you stand out. But Noah is really awesome at adding personal things and creating his own characters.
Yeah, usually I rely on like props, so like weapons or something. And for me, the bigger the weapon, the better. Because if it's not big, there's no point in carrying it around. That's my point of it. But I've created a few like just props and weapons and characters that came out of my own mind, and it's most of the time it's just I don't even know. It's hard to describe.
He's like, I'm a creative genius.
Yes.
well, I love it when the nerds of play do fun original things. Like they'll do a funny prop. I get it.
Yeah, I have my actual like original character. His name's Booker Noir. He shares my cosplay name, and he is a clockwork cyborg from the 1920s, and he's got all kinds of awesome just stuff I made up. And the process of that is usually it comes to me like when I'm not even thinking about it. So I'll be like doing something like playing Mortal Kombat, and then like I put the controller down and I'm like, Eureka. And then I just kind of start building, and just putting your own personal flair in it is just maybe like changing something slightly. Like if I do Deadpool, instead of carrying around like the swords that everybody has, I would do like the sledgehammers from the Deadpool video game. Because I mean everybody does the swords, but if you do something just slightly different, it makes it more your own. So
Nice.
or do like the Deadpool from X-Men, like the blue and yellow instead of the black and red. Because I mean you see plenty of the other ones. So do something that's not so mainstream.
Yeah, a lot of people choose to do like the Rule 63, which are also cross-playing or gender bending, and that alone can make you stand out because there are some like, I don't know, like she's done
That's
it,
all I
you've
do.
done it,
Dress
I've
like
done it.
men.
Yeah,
That's what I'm good at.
And I dress like females, so
Yeah, and I think that can make you stand out also.
I'm a replicator, like Whitney. I make it as accurate as possible, and then like Tim over here, try to make it all.
Tim.
Wait, not Tim. I'm sorry.
We're like silent.
Never mind. I'm sorry. I'm thinking Tim over there. But like I try to do the nifty fun parts, make it animatronic, and like the jaw thing, make the staff weapon open, and lights inside. I want to make it functional.
Yeah,
and
which
like
is how
she
I
said,
stand
like
out.
sometimes when you can make like a perfect replica, it still makes you stand out because it's just really like a really accurate piece.
I'll
That's
see your
exactly
replica.
that's what I do with Lara Croft. I don't normally shoot for accuracy with costumes. I just do it to the point where I like it or like feel good about it. But with any Tomb Raider costume,
They're cute.
I have to have them exactly how I want them. But I've started to kind of like deter away from it a little bit. Like Joni and I did Party Raiders, and we had on like black ties and cufflinks and like it's just stuff like that. Like you can make something your own, but at the same time you can make it accurate and it's
Like
still,
all the bunnies.
and it's still cool. Yeah,
The Star Trek bunnies and Gamora bunny.
Yeah.
And
I need like a mashup costume too. Those are
Yeah.
pretty cool.
And
And
I mean-
Deadpool's really good at that because he can get away with it really easily.
Yeah. And to like create those like mashup costumes or your own creations or personal flares on things, like even just thinking of like a theme like Party Raiders or gender bent Pokemon or gender bent anything really makes it that.
Yeah.
Elder
Or-
Deadpool.
Yeah, things like
That's
that.
funny.
Yeah, I like seeing that one.
Or steampunk version of this or space version of that.
Yeah.
Steampunk stuff is really interesting.
It
I
is.
think so too.
I can't really decide if I like it, if I want to do something, or if I'm confused
Same
by it.
boat. Like I like it. It looks cool. I just don't know if I would want to ever do something.
I don't know
like
what to
that.
steampunk
Yeah.
though. I'm like, what would I turn into a steampunk? I mean, there's a lot of original steampunk, but
There's a couple that, like, for instance, the few that are on my list is Steampunk Scarecrow, which is gonna be awesome. Like, like half a burlap mask, but then like underneath it will be like gears and stuff like that, and goggles for eyes, and then like Steampunk Moon Knight, who's my favorite Marvel character because Moon Knight's awesome, and like getting like just a really nice suit and like a top hat and stuff, and just kind of, I don't know, adding stuff like that makes it original, and just doing different versions. So I don't know.
for me with steampunk, it's the why. Why is that gear there? And I can't get my head over it, or around it. It's just.
So you're a mechanical mind like me. It has to serve a
It has
function.
to have a
It has to serve a
has to have
function,
a
otherwise
purpose.
it's useless,
And that's why steampunk throws me off.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand the goggles. Goggles make sense.
Yeah, the goggles
traveling
with
with
like
the
3
goggles.
different magnifying glasses.
Yeah, exactly. That's functional. But
Yeah.
then it's like just a gear on the side of your face. Why? Now, the only thing I would probably consider steampunking would be those Nazi guards from Sucker Punch.
Oh
that they fight in the
I
trenches.
love
They were clockwork and kind of.
Those
I
are
would
cool.
consider doing one of those.
I was considering doing a Samus steampunk at one point. They have a dark Samus version, and she kind of looks steampunky. So I was just gonna do the same, but it's
For like your
weird.
gun arm, you could do a lot with that.
Yeah. So
Make it a crossbow.
I've always wanted to see a steampunk penguin from Batman. I think it would be really cool.
That would be cool.
We were thinking about doing
Little
one
wind-up
where,
thing on his back.
like
Yeah,
steampunk, like not.
and he's got the monocle already. Like, there's just so much you
Yeah,
could do with
right?
it.
He's already fancy. We were talking about what I think would be cool is he usually does Two-Face from like all the Batman Arkham games. So I think like a steampunk Two-Face where half him is literally machine,
That would be so cool.
because then it would just be like awesome to see
Yeah.
half human, and then like the whole other side is all like the teeth could be like gears and stuff and
But it has to serve a purpose, though. Otherwise, it can't be
Creative
there.
genius.
badassery. You're welcome.
You could do metal teeth instead of
Okay,
gear teeth.
it'll be metal teeth then.
Yeah.
That,
That
that'd
should be
better.
comfortable.
If you have two cogs with interlocking teeth, anything you put in there is going to get chewed up. Mouth. You're welcome.
That would be Jaws from
Next
James
subject.
Bond.
I said next subject.
you could carry around a potato.
With gears
It
on
could
it.
be a potato grater.
That's how much steampunk makes sense for me.
So on the subject of like creating your own flair, you have like a bunch of like super cool ideas. Have you ever made an original character?
Yes. Yes, my Booker Noir is completely original. Actually, though, he kind of sprouts from something that already exists, and people have started to unravel it of what he really is, and it makes me mad because it was an intricate thing I thought of for a while, and then you just kind of came along and like, hey, by the way, and it's like, oh,
your subconscious betrays you.
basically. But yeah, like, that's just mine, and I think all of us Nerds of Play have one, so, and that's something eventually we want to do is like, bring our characters to life and then have people like know them, because I think it'd be the coolest thing to make up a character and then go to a con, you dress as that character, and you see somebody else cosplaying your character,
That would be super cool.
That'd be like the day
That would
where
be
you
the
can
day.
just take off your costume and be like, I made it. I'm the top. I'm at the top of the mountain. I'm leaving.
So what characters have you guys created, if you have?
I embellished on the
So
Deadly
put her on.
Nightshade, which was probably before most of you were born in the 90s. There was a show with called The Flash with John Wesley Shipp as the Flash. Anyway, there's one character called the Deadly Nightshade, glowing red eyes, black everything, and 2 Uzis. Well, I didn't have the Uzis, but I added this big old metal mask just because, the spikes. It's much more menacing. And, of course, I still did the red eyes, but I changed a couple things, so I just embellished. And then if Salt Lake Comic-Con picks up our panel again this year, myself and the panelists are going to try to do an original character. We're all going to create different pieces of the character and then assemble them together on somebody.
That's really
so-
awesome. That's a super good idea.
That's what we're cranking out right now.
I have a part if we ever do something like that already. Booker's arm and leg, which sucked to walk in. Anyway, your turn. Tell us about Lilith.
Yes, do tell.
Lilith. So, as part of Nerds of Play, again, we're making our own original cosplays to eventually take further into the realm of our imaginations in real life. And my character is called Lilith. And what's the best way to easily describe her? A succubus she-demon who is based off of, Lilith as in, the first woman, not women, she is one person.
Kinda.
And basically, she can literally become whatever anyone desires, male or female. And so, like a succubus, she will take advantage of that. And she has various forms. She has a human-like form, and then she can also turn full demon, have wings and horns, and it's gonna be really cool. And she's a timeless being, and eventually finds the other time-ish-less beings, timeless-ish. I'm making up words here. Just go with it.
Immortal?
Yeah, there
Eternal?
we go. Well, not all of you are immortal.
Timelessness.
I'm immortal. Well, actually, no, I'm not immortal either because I need souls of humans to survive.
Human males, I thought.
Well, yeah, that's like
No, humans.
That's like what a succubus is.
Exactly. Some people may not know that.
Google.
Okay.
But yeah.
Scott.
How do you come up with that? How do you come up with those ideas? Just one day thinking about she-demons.
Well, mine was originally I was just kind of sitting there, and a lot of the times my job is just tedious. So I sit there and then you start thinking about your heroes.
Let your mind wander.
Yeah, and then eventually
Yeah.
it starts to create something, and then by the end of the day you're like, okay, well now I have a whole novel in my head. So they just usually stem from that. Originally my guy was just he started out being something completely different. And now, since this one's actually possible, I guess would be the best way to say it, is he is who he is now. But mostly he's just kind of you're sitting there and your mind starts to wander and you make up a human being-esque
Yeah,
guy.
pretty much. They had created some part of their backstories, and I was like, okay, well, what character could I create to kind of flow into that? And so I was well, I kind of like the idea of, obviously, female. I'll try to be a female for once. That would be cool. And, just the idea of... Because, in comic books, you kind of, have those succubi-ish, characters, but not quite like this. And so it's kind of taking ideas from other things that already exist and then
Just,
making your own twist on it, and then kind of researching how you want your character. I wanted mine to be kind of based off of Lilith, the real... Well, not real, but Lilith, the legend. And just kind of working with that and working it into the character and seeing how the character could progress with that particular idea, and then adding other weird things. So she can have this superpower. How would that affect the character? And then they run into this, and they have this weakness, and just kind of creating your own story.
So it's kind
In
of
your own
like
head.
if you were to play an Elder Scrolls game, and it's or WWE or Dungeons and Dragons, where it's
Yeah.
here, create your own character, and you spend most of the hours playing that game making your own character.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, pretty much.
Kind of like what you did with your Daedric from Skyrim. Anyone can have Daedric armor. So did you create a character backstory, or did you just like the way the armor looked? Because it's an original concept.
No, I stole your concept book, and I said, that was cool. I'm going to make that. And
I do have a
started playing
concept book.
Yeah. And then I started playing the game, and I said, well, this is kind of a cool character. It looks tough. I'll do it. And
Nice.
then I made it purple, and I don't know. What else? No.
So we have a couple minutes left. Go around the table, give your absolute best advice for beginning a cosplay.
Don't start with me.
YouTube is your best friend.
Take a chill pill and don't break stuff, because I do, and it sucks to start over.
Visualize. Look at your project and take it apart. Basic shapes. If you can make it into a basic shape, you can make it in real life.
Mine would be just practice makes perfect. Play around with parts. Feel free to take risks. If you think that something might do a particular material that might do something that you don't think it will, try it anyways. If it doesn't work, then you know for sure. If it does, who knows? You might be onto something new. Go for it.
I would just say start increasing your skill sets in different areas. So if you need help with painting, start painting or pick up painting or stuff like that. Just increase your goodness.
Can I add another one?
Yeah.
Ask for help. If
Yes.
you legitimately don't know how to do something, there's someone who does.
Yes, use your
Always.
resources. Always use your resources. Mine is the same. It's what I say to everybody. Dive in and have fun with it, because I think that that's all of our end goals anyway. We like to have a good time. So that is it for today's podcast for Cosplay for All. Tune in every 2 weeks, because this happens every 2 weeks.